Innovation is a term that has different meanings to different people. For some, it's doing things first, and for a few others, it's doing things well and executing them well. But there are rarely any who do both of them, and I think Vivo is one of them. This is the Vivo Apex. It's the brand new concept phone from Vivo, and probably the most futuristic piece of smartphone hardware that I've ever held in my hand. So without any further ado, let's jump right in. Before we get into it though, if you haven't subscribed to the channel, please do that, because if you don't, you're missing out on a lot of cool tech videos that we're putting out. And hit the bell icon, because once you've subscribed, you should want to know when the videos are coming out, right? Before we begin and take a look at all this futuristic technology, just take a deep, long look at this beauty. This is the most seamless smartphone that I've held in my hand. Actually, a lot of times you don't even know if you're holding the device upside down, but that is truly because this is a free-flowing device. They've named it quite well with the liquid design, and I think this is one of the prettiest phones that I've ever used. Now I'll begin with the in-display fingerprint scanner, because that is the one that I feel is the most utilitarian on this smartphone right now. Vivo, again a brand that brought in-display fingerprint scanners to the market, one of the first players, and also sold millions of units to people with consumer-grade hardware. But this is something that we've never seen before, a whole almost 6-inch area that can act as an in-display fingerprint scanner for you. So anywhere I tap on this display, it's an in-display fingerprint scanner for me. See that? That really works like magic. Doesn't matter where I put my finger. I just put it in the most comfortable place that I can, and it unlocks the display. It also has two-finger authentication, which is cool technology, which just simply means that you'll need both your right and your left thumb, or two fingers, to unlock the phone. And that is cool and all, that is more secure of course, but I don't think that's practical. People use their phones mostly with one hand, and needing two fingers to unlock their phone is not something I think is very practical. Also, I think making the entire display into an in-display fingerprint scanner that works this well is going to be expensive. And if you're actually going to be spending so much money, why not spend that money on a secure face unlock that uses a few sensors? I understand the in-display fingerprint scanner was brought so that you won't need a separate camera module that comes as a notch on this phone, but Vivo already has the pop-out mechanism nailed, and with the renders that we're seeing for the Oppo Reno, we can see bigger cutouts coming out. So why not have a cutout that has all the sensors and can get face unlocked down? I think putting more and more money into fingerprint sensor technology, which is slightly an older technology, is not really worth it. And although Vivo has nailed this technology and has in-display fingerprint scanners working almost perfectly, I don't see myself using in-display fingerprint scanners in the next 3 or 4 years, and I think face unlock is a much better, more futuristic method. Now we come to pressure sensitive buttons. They are a trip to use for sure. Do I see it as a viable option? I do actually. Not in this form, but yes, I do see pressure sensitive buttons working. I say that not particularly because of the Apex, but because my most favorite piece of hardware on my MacBook is that Force Touch trackpad, and that uses the same pressure sensitive technology. Same idea, the trackpad piece doesn't physically move, but the haptic engine makes you feel like you're clicking. The same thing that happens on the Vivo Apex. What's the need is one question that comes up. We are happy with our regular buttons, then why do we need pressure sensitive buttons? Well, for one, it's a good thing to have as less cutouts as possible on the phone, and if you have a physical button, then it's an extra cutout. Also, it's another moving part, and as a lot of people know in technology, we try to minimize the number of moving parts inside a device so that it can run for longer periods of time. But that shouldn't be the only reason, right? Well, I think pressure sensitive buttons have a lot more opportunity than that. Well, once the button is not hardware and is software controllable, like the pressure sensitive buttons here, the opportunities are endless. You can have levels of presses with varying levels of pressure, like maybe changing volumes at varying speeds. So maybe you want to change volume slowly, maybe you want to change it quicker. You can also have those buttons customized for different apps, for different utilities as well. The power button maybe could have 3 levels of pressure. For example, the first level might help you unlock or lock the phone. The second level may invoke the Google Assistant. The third level may let you go go to the power menu and let you shut down or restart the phone. These applications seem viable because I have loved my MacBook trackpad and there are a ton of applications that this uses. And I think pressure sensitivity coming to the buttons can be a huge boon, but if implemented correctly. Another little turn to it could be if we can make the frame a touch sensor, which means that it can be a pressure sensor but also a touch sensor, which means that maybe you can scroll through the entire UI without having to touch the screen. You can just swipe from the right or the left of the phone. Maybe you can change volumes by just swiping, just making gestures on the frame of the phone, and you can easily do things like that. Control music, watch videos, scroll through videos, maybe even customize different controls for games and use all the different controls to get a next level experience with gaming. I think all these options are very viable, and if implemented correctly, this could really be a very interesting futuristic option. Now we come to the fact that this one has no ports. This is an easy one for me. With wireless charging, data transfer, which includes Bluetooth and audio listening as well, it does make sense that future phones don't need ports anymore. In fact, I can tell you that I'm using the iPhone XS Max as my primary device and I don't have a lightning cable. Already cannot take my earphones in because there's no headphone jack, so I'm using Bluetooth earphones anyway, and I actually lost the lightning cable for that phone. Now for the past 3-4 weeks, I've just been charging the phone with wireless chargers, so literally no cables. So even if my iPhone XS Max did not have a port, did not have the charging port, I would still have no problems with it. I have a wireless charger at home, a few in the office, so I don't really see a use for it. Even if you have just one wireless charger with you, you can charge any of these phones. It doesn't matter if it's a Google phone or an iPhone or a Huawei phone or a Samsung phone or a Vivo phone. If it's a wireless charger, it will charge all of them, eliminating the use of proprietary ports and proprietary cables. That, I think, is the future that we should be looking at. That's a unifying tech future, and I think that makes complete and absolute sense. Last futuristic thing that I found on this is that there is no speaker grill as well. So what it does is that the body vibrates using sensors in the audio range, that is 20 Hz to 20 kHz, and produces the sound that you want to hear. Now, generally piezoelectric sensors haven't worked well. The Vivo Nex actually implemented that, and the earpiece quality was quite bad. In this, we haven't been able to test the earpiece quality because again, this is an eSIM phone and we have not been able to do that. But the speaker quality, the quality of outputting media, outputting audio from this has been actually quite surprising. The way I see it, last year's Vivo Apex was almost completely translated into the Vivo Nex and sold to the consumers. That I don't think is going to happen this year. The Vivo Apex 2, the all-new Vivo Apex, is a far more futuristic device, and I think it's far ahead of its curve, and I don't see a lot of it coming to the Vivo Nex 2. A point of information here, the Vivo Nex dual display that came out in the middle, it's not the Vivo Nex 2, it's called the Vivo Nex dual display, and the one that we'll see this year will be called the Vivo Nex 2. So for the Vivo Nex 2, I don't think Vivo will be putting out phones that has no ports. So I don't think the Vivo Nex 2 will have no ports. I think they'll have a few ports because they're going to have to sell it to the consumers. And I don't think at this point, someone who is at least not very tech savvy and has a few phones at his or her disposal, I don't think they're going to shift to a phone that has no ports and going to take that risk. I think this is expensive tech, although I think this has been implemented very beautifully. Also the fact that I can register the finger with just 2 taps, that is the fastest fingerprint registration that I've ever done. Now that fact alone, added with the exceptional speed and reliability and accuracy of this thing, I think in-display fingerprint scanners with covering more area, at least half of it, maybe the bottom half, is something I can expect to see from the Vivo Nex 2. The fact that today where brands like Samsung and Huawei are not even letting tech journalists play with their devices, not even in front of them, let alone back at home or at the office. And the fact that Vivo is actually shipping out these concept phones with crazy technology to people without fearing that there might be a backlash in marketing or there might be a backlash of opinion. I think this is being risky. I think this is how you push the envelope, and I think Vivo is really pushing the envelope in a tangible way. This was a quick look at the future. with the Vivo Apex. Please let me know what you thought of all this futuristic tech. Let me know what you actually think about all this tech. What are your thoughts? Is there anything that you would change about them? Is there any other tech that you would want to see in smartphones? Let us know in the comment sections. I'm pretty sure all smartphone manufacturers are out there. This YouTube as a platform has become very strong, and I'm pretty sure that they're keeping a close eye on what you say as well. So let us know in the comment section. Maybe they pick it up, maybe they see, maybe they give you what you need. So that's it for this one. Thank you so much for watching. This is Sreehari from Mr. Phone, and I'll definitely catch you in the next one. Click the link below to download the Oddbots Turbo Run game now. There is rarely anyone who does the first part well, and I think we... Oh no, oh no, oh no, oh, good. Innovation is a